Good afternoon and welcome to the May 13th, 2024 regularly scheduled meeting of the Orlando City Council. We're going to begin today's proceedings with the invocation and the pledge offered and led today by Commissioner Jim Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. If you're so inclined, please join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we come to you today asking for guidance, wisdom, and kindness as we address the affairs of this community. Help us engage in meaningful discussions that lead to decisions that advance the city and its residents. We also ask for your intervention into current disputes throughout the world. We ask for calm minds, rational decisions, and healing hearts. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll and make a determination of quorum, please?
Commissioner Gray?
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Here.
Commissioner Stewart?
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan? Here. Commissioner Burns?
Here.
Mayor Dyer?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First order of business is consideration of minutes from the agenda review and city council meeting of April 22nd, 2024. Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and so the motion carries. We have no awards, recognitions, or presentations today, so I'm going to start with a quick mayor's update. This week is National Police Week, when our country honors the law enforcement officers who have given their lives in the line of duty over the last several years. We've had two OPD officers, Lieutenant Deborah Clayton and Officer Kevin Valencia, who were taken while heroically serving our city. Their bravery and dedication will never be forgotten. We send our love to their families and to their OPD colleagues. Big month this May is for the Orlando Fire Department. Last week they celebrated 139 years as an agency of the city of Orlando, and a little bit has changed since 1885 when they had one lone fire apparatus, which I'm sure was either hand-pulled or horse-driven, one of the two. And we'll see more change this coming week, Commissioner Ortiz, when we come out to your district for the ribbon cutting and grand opening of Fire Station 11 on Curry Ford Road. Okay, and in the near future, we'll have Fire Station 6 at the Orlando Executive Airport. There's a agreement on the agenda today with HJ High for the design of that station. We have an election a week from Tuesday, special election for District 5 Interim City Commission. It'll be Tuesday, the 21st. Early voting started today. I encourage you to go to orlando.gov/election to learn ways to get an absentee and to where your polling places will be. Memorial Day commemoration ceremony. I invite you to join Commissioner Sheehan and our Veterans Advisory Committee on May the 24th at 6 p.m. for a Memorial Day ceremony at Greenwood. Gives our city the opportunity to honor the military service members who made the ultimate sacrifice while protecting America. And I just have a couple items of note that I would like to specifically call out today, and that's item C11 and CRA 4, which relates to travel and leisure coming downtown. It will approve agreements that will bring them downtown with close to, 900 jobs currently in existence and another 100 jobs that will be coming when they move here. They're Central Florida's one of the largest publicly traded companies, and they focus on, as you might have guessed, the vacation industry. And Kim Marshall, the Chief HR Officer, is here today. Kim, would you stand and be recognized? Okay, well, that will move to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a number of items that are acted upon through a single vote of council, we give each of our council members an opportunity to comment on the consent agenda and update you on important happenings from their district. We rotate the order that we do that, and Commissioner Gray is first up today.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope everyone had a great Mother's Day, whether you were celebrating or being celebrated. I hope everybody had a great Mother's Day. It was a beautiful day yesterday. I want a quick thanks to Chief Eric Smith and the OPD group. They did their kind of quarterly Meet the Chief meeting out in the Lee Vista area in southeast Orlando. Very well received by the neighbors, and I just want to thank the chief and his team for making the effort to connect with the community. Was much appreciated, and I just want to thank them for taking the time. Going forward tomorrow, Nemours Children's Hospital is opening their Family Resource Center. You know, Nemours is a great resource for our community and is one of the first groups out in the Lake Nona area, but the medical care they provide for kids that are having some medical challenges is amazing. So they're opening a resource center to help those families with even more resources that they need to help them go through some tough times. So congrats to them. And then also tomorrow night at 5:30, we have the Taste of Lake Nona, hosted by the Lake Nona Chamber of Commerce. It's at the Aloft Hotel, so starts at 5:30 for you culinary experts. I invite you to come out there. On the agenda, I'm acknowledging an abstain from voting on item C11, 12, and CRA 4. Those are the items that the mayor talked about. So I'm abstaining from voting on those based on a business relationship, and I filed the paperwork with the clerk. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, you already announced the Station 11, so I'm going to skip that. I just basically want to go ahead and say Happy Mother's Day to, I hope all the mothers had a great day yesterday and spent some good time with the family. And I'm going to just hold my comments until the next city council because there's a lot to be covered today. So,
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you for your time, Tony. I appreciate it. Take the next 45 minutes and talk a little bit about what's going on. Let me just share a couple of things. I want to say thank you everybody who worked on the Earth Day work day. I appreciate that. We have a new business of the month over in Ivanhoe Village, Theory Salon. It was good to be over there with them. Some of you who are photographically inclined, we've announced this past week we're opening up the 2025 Historic Preservation Board calendar. I don't normally mention that, but I mention that because it happens to be recognizing the 100th year anniversary of College Park. And so we're doing that the same year, so we're excited about doing that. Thank you for that. Happy Mother's Day, of course. That's one of the things I should have been on top of my list. That'll make my wife not very happy when she hears this. And then I want to say special thanks to the Mills 50 group and Lake Highland. We had a great tour. Commissioner Shea and I was over with them and had a chance to see some great artwork over there. And they did a little project where they put a QR code that goes to a website that tells about the artist and about the actual thing that's that we went to go see, the visual art. So it was really, really neat to see that and see the excitement of the kids learning about artists as opposed to just about art. So I appreciate that. May 2nd, we had the National Day of Prayer. I appreciate Tony spending time with you. Thank you very much for doing that. Vision Orlando did an event here in downtown, down in our rotunda. And then yesterday they announced the Central Floridian of the Year, and it happened to be my friend Eric Gray, who was took my place over at the Christian Service Center. I'm happy and proud for him. I appreciate that. Some upcoming things real quickly. Fringe starts tomorrow. Excited about that. We have the Grace Hagedorn. We're taking a presentation plaque over to her house for 100th, her house being 100 years old. We're going to kind of recognize that. Saturday is the District 3 Community Shred event. So if you have stuff you wanted to get shredded, old checks, business records, anything that you want to get shredded, we're going to be at Rosemont Elementary from 9 to 12 on Saturday. And of course, the highly anticipated Great Southern Box Company Food Hall will be opening up next week. So we're excited about that. On the agenda, let me mention a couple of things. I-3, we are putting charging stations in over at the Orlando Tennis Center. So Patty, you can get over there. Patty, you can go over there and now play tennis. Charge while you're playing tennis. Won't that be great for you?
My charging is fun in Orlando, Commissioners. Wow, I go somewhere.
Oh, that's
I get charged.
We also are accepting, or sending $20,000 to Dueling Dragons. Some of y'all are familiar with that project that we're doing. I appreciate Andrea Ellisque. She was a finalist for Central Florida at the end of the year. Both of them dear friends of mine, and I appreciate that. And Mayor, on today on B17, I'm going to vote no. I've asked the representatives to provide some information for me, and they have not done that. Until I can get that information, I just simply can't support that. So I'm a no on B17, please. And that's all I have.
Okay, I think you mean C17.
C17? Yeah, C17, sorry, you're correct. You are correct.
Okay, Commissioner Sheehan?
Thank you, Mayor, and I too want to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day. And I lost my mom a couple years ago, miss her every day. So if you have a chance to spend some time with your mom and honor her, please do it, because you never know how bad it's going to be when they go. There's no one like Mama. There's lots of times I go to pick up that phone, and I wish I could hear her voice at the other end. So happy Mother's Day, everyone. On the agenda today, on item A2, is the Rainbow Run. We're going to be starting at City Commons Plaza, going over and running over to Pulse. I just want to say that there's been some comments about how it's disrespectful and different things like that. As someone whose community was devastated by the Pulse massacre, I want to thank UCF Sports Management for putting this on, because it actually is a fundraising for building the permanent memorial, and I think that's something that's really important to do. So I can disagree with some of the comments that have been made. I want to thank UCF and the UCF students for doing this on behalf of my community, on behalf of those who are impacted by this, because we need to get a permanent memorial built to honor those lives lost. On item C11, again, the travel and leisure agreement, I think this is a great corporate relocation, support this wholeheartedly. Item G2, Bloomberg Philanthropies Public Art Grant. I think that's just so cool that they're giving us $1 million on social and ecological relationships between food and community, and food is a right. I think that's an amazing opportunity to bring awareness and to support artists, so I'm really glad to see that on the agenda today as well. On item H3, Dueling Dragons, that is a wonderful program, and thank OPD for supporting that for many, many years. And also, Andrea Ellisque was nominated as well for Central Florida of the Year for all the work that she's done, and I think that's just an amazing program, building relationships between the Orlando Police Department and at-risk youth. And something else that was really, really cool, it was just in the CRA minutes, but I want to just talk about, is the Global Peace Film Festival is going to be having a year-long outdoor movie series at Luminary Green and Lake Eola Park. I think that is just absolutely wonderful. I'm glad to see the Global Peace Film Festival. It's one of the great events that's put on. It's local and international filmmakers, and I just think the fact that they're bringing this to outdoor facilities where everyone can enjoy them is just an absolutely wonderful thing, and I'm glad to see that the CRA is going to be supporting that. And that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burns.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start off with a few updates. First, allow me also to wish everyone a belated Happy Mother's Day. I had the opportunity of attending several events throughout the community celebrating Mother's Day, one at the Grand Avenue Neighborhood Center, El Claudia Allen Senior Center, and a new event for me. I hope this is the first annual event where we had lunch in the Poppy Park over in the Carver Shores neighborhood with a lot of our mothers there to celebrate Mother's Day. So thank you, Ms. Heath, our association president, for pulling that together and including me in that. Also, I'd like to congratulate also Eric Gray for being recognized as the Central Floridian of the Year for all of his work in homelessness and poverty. And I'm fortunate to have been able to work with Eric for the past 15 years in those areas. Also on Wednesday, April the 24th, I had the opportunity of spending some time with Congressman Maxwell Frost and Democrat Whip Catherine Clark, Lisa Early and Abe Morris with the Family Parks and Recreation Department to talk about our Community Violence Intervention Program, talk about the additional resources that will be coming to our community to address violence that's happening. So I'd just like to say thank you to Congressman Frost for his advocacy in those areas and bringing the resources to our community to help us locally address some of those issues. Also, on May 2nd, I had the pleasure of attending the African American Chamber of Commerce golf outing. This was a great turnout opportunity to engage with local small business owners. The atmosphere was vibrant, filled with excitement, and we enjoyed truly playing golf. My team did not win, but we did pretty good. So thank you to the African American Chamber for that. Also on Saturday, May 4th, I attended the Senior Fitness Day hosted at the James R. Smith Center. This event hosted over 60 seniors who came together to prioritize their health. The day was filled with energy and enthusiasm, and participants were able to take part in different activities based on their fitness level. So again, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who participated, but also to our FPR team for pulling that together. But also, I just wanted to take this time to highlight some other senior activities that happen at our L. Claudia Allen Senior Center. We have fitness that happens twice a week. We have a senior jam that happens once a month. A game night as well as a billiard night. So I often hear our seniors talk about what is there that the city is offering for our seniors. So I ask you all to get involved, call the L. Claudia Allen Center, because there are a host of activities that are available to our seniors. Also, May 6th, I had the opportunity of traveling over to Tampa, to the Tampa Housing Authority, to see some of the innovative work that they've been doing with the Choice Neighborhood Grant. As you all know, that our area has been awarded a Choice Neighborhood Planning Grant to see how we can go about potentially redeveloping some of our public housing. So I learned a lot on that Tampa site visit, and looking forward to our community moving forward with our planning process. Also, on May 7th, I attended the Jones High School 2024 Scholarship award ceremony. My office we awarded 3 $1,000 scholarships to deserving Jones High School graduating seniors. But also it was inspiring to see that another 30 Jones High School seniors received the Harris Rosen Scholarship, which provides them a full scholarship to attend college, junior college or technical college, in the name of Harris Rosen. So he's done so much for our community. He does this, he has the scholarship program in the Tangelo Park area and recently moved it to Jones High School. And so it's just inspiring to see someone being so giving of themselves to help our youth pursue their educational endeavors. Also, let me see. Also, on May 9th, we attended the UCF Rosen College of Hospitality Management 20 years celebration of excellence for their 20-year reunion. Again, this was an opportunity to highlight some of the investments that Mr. Harris Rosen has made in our community. Also, I would like to acknowledge, on the agenda this afternoon, well, before that, I wanted to point out that today, the RFP for the redevelopment of the Piedmont Box Yard was released, and this is a notice that we're inviting proposals to experienced developers to develop affordable multifamily housing in the Holden Heights community in District 6. And this was a lot that was previously held the dumpsters that the city maintains. And so we got that lot cleaned up, and now we're making way for affordable multifamily housing. So I'd like to say thank you, Mayor Dyer, for your support in getting that lot cleaned up, but then also to repurposing it for affordable housing. Also, upcoming events. We continue to have my mobile satellite office hours held on Wednesday, May 22nd at the L. Claudia Allen Senior Center from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Also, District 6 Family Reunion Fun Day will happen Saturday, June 8th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Dr. James R. Smith Center. So we invite the community to come out, enjoy the day. We're going to have some water aerobics, some fun and games. So again, family reunion style outing. We invite not just District 6, but the entire city of Orlando to come out and enjoy. On the agenda this afternoon, Mayor, I want to highlight item A4, approving of the submission of the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Grant. I think that's impossible, so I support that. Also, C16, the Small Business Facade Grant to Metland Ramps in District 6. I'm not sure if they're here with us this afternoon, but we oftentimes don't see, okay, there you are, congratulations. We oftentimes don't see these facade grants coming to District 6, so I'm excited that we finally have this facade grant in District 6. Also, F1 on the agenda, support the adoption of the resolution adopting a new process for the local governmental preference under the low-income housing 9% tax credit program. This is a program that is designed to help spur affordable multifamily developments in our community. And how that works is each area is given a tax preference. So with the city of Orlando and Orange County, we alternate who gets that preference. Before now, there has not been a true review process, so I'm glad to see our housing department putting together a transparent process that everyone will know what happens when they apply for that 9% tax credit and for the preference. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burns, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and so the motion carries. So that is the entirety of the consent agenda. So if you were just here for items that were on the consent agenda, you are not required to stay for the remainder of the meeting, and now's a good time to exit if you so desire.
Now's a good time to get out.
And otherwise, if there's no objection, we're going to move to recess the city council meeting and convene the CRA meeting. David, I think I can handle the first one, which is CRA meeting minutes from April the 1st. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2 is accepting CRA advisory board minutes from the 27th of March.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and so the motion carries. Number 3, David.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. So item 3 is the item referenced a couple times in the mayor's welcome remarks, as well as Commissioner Sheehan's. This is a high-wage, high-value job creation agreement on behalf of the CRA for Travel and Leisure Co. I wanted to take just a moment to walk you through a little bit of background about the CRA's high-wage, high-value job creation program, as well as a little bit of context on some of how the former agreements you have approved have been performing. So as you may recall, this program was originally created in 2006 with the goal of incentivizing companies to move into downtown and create new jobs that were both high wage and high value to bring more economic impacts to our local economy. Last year, there was an amendment to that you will recall being called the Paramore Headquarters Incentive, which was specifically targeting businesses to come make very large presences in our Paramore community that were of 750 employees or more. But the program in its entirety has 4 different qualifications, so to speak, where you can get incentives. They work as a menu of options, so we can craft an appropriate incentive based on the company that we're working with. The first one is the job creation incentive. So this is the must. You have to have that. That's that create that high-wage, high-value job. After that, the Paramore Headquarter Incentive, which I referenced, the Downtown Living Incentive, and the public transportation incentive. So how the menu of option works is you can kind of piece together any of the incentives that I referenced before for a total incentive up to $4,000 per job, and I'll walk through that just real quickly on how that works. So of the first, for that high-wage, high-value job, if that company is creating a job and it has a specific wage level, you'll see the table on the bottom. If the wage that they are paying is 115% of the Orange County or state average wage, they're eligible for up to $750. As that wage increases up to 200%, our incentive increases all the way up to $2,000 per job. And as I mentioned, you have to have this component. You can't choose the other items on the program without first qualifying and receiving this, as it is the foundational level. The new incentive that was approved last year is the Paramour Headquarters Incentive. So this is for those headquarter corporations that are making a commitment to our Paramour community and are bringing at least 750 jobs along with them during that process. They must lease a space that's paying property taxes, and they must sign a base term lease of 10 years, so making a long commitment to be a significant part of that community. The next component is the Downtown Living Incentive. So this is working with companies to hopefully have their employees also live within the downtown CRA area. Obviously, if they're moving here, their employees may not live here yet, but we want them to encourage to be part of the live, work, and play environment. So you'll see kind of a tiered system. For year one, we ask them if they meet that 15%, that will go up to 20, and then 25 in year three, that they receive $1,000 per employee that they're bringing. And then similarly, along that context, $1,000 per job for a public transportation incentive. So the city and the CRA have made significant investments in being multimodal, and we want to come alongside those companies that are going down that route with us. So same context and percentages that I referenced in Downtown Living, but if a company incentivizes their employees by creating a public savings account, it works a lot like a health savings account, where employees can deposit pre-tax funds into this account and spend it on public transportation, they are eligible for $1,000 per job. You'll see that those individuals, those employees need to fund that account to $560 annually, and what that equates to is an annual Sunrail pass, so you can understand the context there. And then, as I mentioned, just real briefly, as far as how some of these prior incentives have performed. In 2021, we approved Sonesta coming to downtown Orlando. They moved into the Landmark buildings on the north side of Lake Eola. We incentivized them to bring 80 jobs here and for $220,000 in funding. So far, they are on their way. They've created 53 of those jobs and have been paid out just shy of $9,000 towards that, and the average wage of those employees is in excess of $90,000. Shortly after that, shortly after in 2021, we incentivized Assured Partners. They brought 200 jobs here into downtown. They're located right next to us here in the CNL building. So far, they've brought 131 of those 200 jobs, have been paid out 123, just over that, $123,500 towards that, and the average wage of those jobs are just shy of $160,000. And then Granite Telecommunications, you'll see, which is also known as Iron Galaxy, kind of their more general name, were approved for 25 jobs at an average wage of just over $68,000. But great story here because they've actually already created 89, so drastically exceeding what they initially thought they would bring. Average wage of those jobs, $61,797. And then it wasn't out of this program, but I just wanted to reference that we do have other opportunities to bring in high-wage, high-value jobs to downtown. One of the most significant ones was EA Sports, and they have brought over 930 jobs to downtown since they made their new location here at over $145,000 average wage. So very excited to continue to bring more high-quality and high-caliber jobs to downtown and to our community. So specifically about travel and leisure, several of these the mayor mentioned in his opening remarks, but travel and leisure, they are looking to move into what is formerly known as HD Supply Building or 501 West Church Street. They are the world's leading membership and leisure travel company. They've been recognized by Fortune magazine as one of the world's most admired companies and the largest publicly traded companies in Orlando. They have a portfolio of over 20 resort, travel club, and lifestyle travel brands, and they currently have more than 900 employees. They're located in the Williamsburg area of Orlando, which is out near SeaWorld. So they would be bringing all of their employees here to this downtown location. The image you see before you is an image of that building. What you can't see is off to the right, which was where the Westcourt project would be. That was voted on at our last meeting. So a lot of investment, a lot of activity spurring specifically into this corridor, but absolutely at the heart of our Paramour community. In addition to the 900 jobs that they would be bringing, they would be creating another 102 jobs, all at the 200% average wage, which is currently just shy of $121,000. And they are excited to be a part of the community and will be submitting a community action plan before March 1st of 2025, detailing the various partnerships and programs that they intend to establish to benefit the youth in the Paramore community. So the job incentives that they qualified for were the high-wage, high-value job incentive at $2,000 per job, as well as the Paramore headquarters incentive, which I detailed before, totaling the maximum allowable by the program, which is $4,000 per job. In total, for the 1,010 jobs that they would be bringing, their CRA investment would come out to $4,040,000. That gets paid out over a 10-year period of time. You heard me mention that they needed to make a minimum of a 10-year commitment. The payout schedule in front of you just shows how that would ultimately be paid as long as they are successful in meeting all of their benchmarks. You see a kind of some larger payments on the front end of that because they are bringing those 900 jobs here initially, and then that starts to taper down in the latter years. So with that, I'm happy to address any questions.
Questions for David? Otherwise, a motion? Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And so the motion carries. Any more business to come before the CRA, David?
That is all, Mayor.
All right, thank you, and we will stand adjourned as to the CRA, and we will reconvene the city council meeting. And that will bring us to new business, and we need to elect 2 new mayors pro tem for a term of May 2024 through December of 2024. Is there a nomination for the Mayor Pro Tem 1?
Mayor, I'd like to make a nomination for Mayor Pro Tem 1, Commissioner Burns.
Are there, motion is second, are there further motions? Then I'll declare the nominations closed. All in favor of Commissioner Burns for Mayor Pro Tem 1, indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
We don't have any others, so by acclamation, congratulations, Pro Tem 1 Burns. Is there
Thank
a
you very much.
nomination for?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to have Commissioner Stewart be Mayor Pro Tem 2.
Second.
Motion and a second for Commissioner Stewart for Mayor Pro Tem 2. Are there further nominations? Then I'll declare the nominations closed. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those, well, I'll just declare Commissioner Stewart Mayor Pro Tem 2 by acclamation. So, congratulations to each of you. Okay, let's move on to hearings ordinances on first reading. Number 1, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2024-9, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to district use standards within the Paramore Heritage Overlay District, amending Chapter 58, Part 2AI, Land Development Code entitled Paramore Heritage Overlay District, PH, providing for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
Motion by, was it you, Commissioner Sheehan? Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, let's move to hearings ordinances, second reading. Oh, you're right. Okay, Commissioners, let's not move away from that ordinance just yet. This ordinance requires a public hearing after 5 o'clock unless we vote by a supermajority to hold the second public hearing at our normal city council meeting time. Staff recommends that we hold the second public hearing at our next available regularly scheduled city council meeting beginning at 2 o'clock. Do I have such a motion?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. 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 And so the motion carries. Okay, we're going to hearings ordinances on second reading.
Mayor, I said no.
Okay, Commissioner Ortiz is noted as a no on that last one. Okay, we're moving to hearings ordinances, second reading. The first one has about 30 comments. The 2 and 3 and 4 have nobody wants to testify, and number 5 has 3 people that would like to testify. So I'm going to propose as a matter of courtesy, that we take up number 5 first and let those three speak on the annex ordinance and not wait for the other 30 members, if that's, other 30 comments, if that's okay with you guys. Let's do this, and then we'll come back and take care of it, Commissioner. Okay, Madam Clerk, there's no objection. We're going to go ahead and move to 2024-20, which is number 5 on our list.
Ordinance number 2024-20, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, annexing to the corporate limits of the city certain land generally located south of Stanton Energy Plant and State Road 528, east of the Starwood property and north of the Osceola County line, and comprised of 5,398.094 acres of land, more or less, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's error, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Commissioner Bray, second by Commissioner Sheehan. We do have 3 requests for comment on this. First up is John Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer, and good afternoon to you and to commissioners as well. My name is John Weiss, a Deputy County Administrator with Orange County Government, 201 South Roslyn Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32801. On Wednesday, May 8th, the county submitted into the record its concerns and objections to the proposed Sunbridge Voluntary Annexation Ordinance. I'm here this afternoon to briefly speak to some of the key points raised in that letter. As the city is aware, the county formally objected to the Phase 1 annexation ordinance for similar reasons. As shared in our written comments, the county has spent more than a decade working with this landowner. We've approved significant entitlements with specific considerations, entered into a series of complex developers agreements with the landowner, and invested millions of dollars from the county's CIP and infrastructure to support this development. The county contends that this annexation does not meet the criteria of the character of the area to be annexed as required by the Florida statutes. The county contends that there are key growth issues that remain unresolved related to the future of the city's land use and rezoning approvals for the Phase 2 annexation area. The county further contends that this annexation leaves significant transportation matters unresolved, and the county contends that this annexation places at risk the environmental protections that were adopted by the county in an environmentally sensitive area. So the county formally objects to this annexations for the reasons detailed here and those further detailed in our letter dated May 8th, 2024. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, Andrew Mai.
Thank you for moving this item up. I appreciate it. My name is Andrew Mai. I am an assistant county attorney for Orange County, Florida, 201 South Roslyn Avenue, Orlando. John has already said much of what I'm going to say, so I'll be brief. The county requests that this annexation be delayed or denied. On April 23rd, the County Commission adopted a resolution which initiated the conflict resolution procedure pursuant to Florida statutes regarding the Stage 1 annexation. We believe it would be prudent to delay this annexation until resolution of the conflict with the county is completed. In addition, the annexation before you today is defective because it's not compact, creates a large enclave, creates pockets, and is in a serpentine pattern. The county has submitted an expert report, which you should have, opposing this annexation and indicating the harm caused by the annexation to the county. The county requests that you delay or deny adoption of this annexation ordinance. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Chris Roper.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Roper. I'm an attorney with the Ackerman Law Firm. For the record, the address is 420 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32801. I'm here today on behalf of the petitioner, Tavistock East Services, LLC. I just wanted to let you know that we disagree with the county. We agree with the city staff in that the proposed annexation does meet all the requirements of Florida law. And I submitted an evidence finder last week to the city clerk's office containing our data analysis and expert report. That was distributed online also, and I just wanted to submit a hard copy as well. And that's all I have. If there's any questions, happy to answer them. Again, Chris Roper. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all the cards I had for information and public comment. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. Okay, let's go back to the top of the second reads. Number 1, Madam Clerk, 2416.
Ordinance number 2024-16, an ordinance amending Chapter 31 City Code Stormwater Utility Code by amending Section 31.14 City Code to modify the basis on which the stormwater service charge is calculated and to provide for increases in the charge and applicable rate, providing legislative findings, severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Burns. Okay, I do have a number of people that would like to comment on this particular item. I haven't counted them all, but I think they're close to 30, so some of you probably haven't been here before. You'll just need, I'll call your name, come to the lectern, state your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes to discuss this item. So we're going to start off with Mike Alderman, followed by Raymond Funk and Portia Maltzby.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here on the behalf, I have a piece of my name is Mike Alderman, I'm sorry. A piece of property, 2 pieces of property in the city of Orlando. So far, the proposal is to raise my water storm over 100%. As I had spoken with a gentleman, Mr. Knight, earlier, he had told me this hasn't been raised since 2008. Well, in 2008, it started in 1998 as a fee, not a tax. If it was a tax, the people of the city of Orlando, we would have gotten to vote on it. As a fee, y'all imposed it, and we didn't get to vote on it, and it was put as a fee as on our tax bill. So in 2008, I pay $1,575 a year for water that God puts down on my land and runs off. They want that fee to go to $3,300 a year. At this inflation rate, the way inflation is, the city of Orlando, the people that live here can't afford that. That's an outrageous amount to increase our fee. I mean, a reasonable amount. They say, well, all this new development, charge the developers, charge the people that are buying the new buildings, charge them for the storm water runoff, not businesses that have been there since the 70s. Winter Park, as we discussed earlier, I went on and I've talked to Winter Park, went on their sites. They charge $43.50 per acre for commercial property, $43.50, and you want to charge me for under an acre $3,375 or $33.50. That's absurd to do that. Inflation is too high to impose this right now. People can't afford to go to the grocery store, and you're going to raise this over 100%. I would assume, I don't even think this would be an issue if this was an election year. You people would throw it out and say, forget this. They're not going to charge these people this kind of crazy money. It's going to drive the people to move out and to move into the county. I was Orange County, and I got annexed into the city. It's supposed to be better. Everything's supposed to work. I can walk out of my driveway, walk into the county driveway. The gentleman across the street, 3 times the amount of my property, pays $600 a year. His hasn't went up, isn't going up. $600 a year. I pay $1,575 a year. And you're wanting to raise, and I'm small compared to what every other business is fixing to raise. So I've tried to keep it as short as possible. I'm totally against it, and I really hope today you will vote no against this rate. At least review it. Too much. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to revert back because I forgot to let Corey make his presentation, and he would be sorely disappointed if he did not have that opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, I would have been disappointed as to not get a chance to do this. So I'm going to real quickly go over, and you'll see this on your monitors, about where we're at. And as was brought out, and as I want to make clear, we have not updated the utility rate, stormwater utility rate, in over 15 years. You guys know in the last few years, we have had extreme price increases across the board. We understand this. We are sensitive to this. We don't necessarily want to do this, but we had to borrow $17 million last year just to fund our stormwater program. And at the rate we're going, we cannot keep that up. So real quickly, in 2019, we actually started to look at the update needs. Based on our revenue projections, we could see that something was happening, and so in 2019, we started to look at this, and COVID hit, so we decided not to go further on that. But currently, right now, and I want to make this point, and I want to make this point to everybody, our stormwater utility rate is at a point where revenues no longer cover our projections, okay? So our operations are going to be affected. All of these things that we try to do, we have street sweepers, we have vacuum trucks, we try to maintain a healthy stormwater system. It's very complex. We got hit with a historic rainfall during Ian, and it inundated pretty much every part of the city was affected at one point. So we feel like when we looked at this was something that we couldn't push down the road any further, and we had to do it. We also wanted to look at this because we think we need a system of less complex calculations that we want to see here. There's some questions about, you know, the discounts, the caps, how those that come about. And so we wanted to try to get that less complex system of calculation. So the study task that we had Raftellus, who is a consultant for us, look at the stormwater utility rate that we charge, and the study task was to review the current stormwater program, was to identify the stormwater funding needs, it was to evaluate what kind of a stormwater rate structure was utilized all throughout the state, and try to get up to par with that, and then compare those stormwater utility rates and fees for other Florida communities, so what was happening all throughout Florida. We also have some management issues that we need to look at because we have a regulatory compliance. We have regulations handed down to us by FEMA for our stormwater mitigation, for our floodplain management, all of these things. We have flood control resiliency that we look at. We look to improve and protect water quality. This is important to understand because the water that comes down goes somewhere. It either goes to a lake, it is infiltrated, or it comes into our system and eventually ends up in either a retention pond or a lake somewhere. And then we need to look at renewing and replacing our aging infrastructure. We have some stormwater pipes that are some 80 to 100 years old. They are in need of replacement in certain areas. We wanted to be more proactive in that approach and take an approach of not only preventative maintenance, but some replacement of the aging infrastructure as well. And then we expect, our residents expect a level of service here that we provide them. And that requires us to have the operation and maintenance activities. Once again, you see our street sweepers out, and also our capital improvements, what we do with that. So some of the rate study issues we wanted to look at was the method of billing. And this method of billing is called a non-ad valorem assessment. It is assessed on your tax bill. It is not a tax. It is a utility rate. You get a service for what we provide, but it is not connected with any bit with your property value. So that's called the non-ad valorem assessment. We wanted to look at projection revenue requirements, what our funding levels needed to be for a healthy capital improvement program. We wanted to evaluate the rate classes and rate structures, and then we wanted to phase in those rate adjustments. So real quick, we've heard a couple of questions. Well, how do you use this revenue? Where is this revenue going towards? So we wanted to show you that it funds our operation and maintenance expenses. That's number one. That's what we put a lot of stock into. We want to have a robust maintenance program to try to avoid some of the problems. When you see the leaves falling out of the trees, they go into the gutter, and a lot of times they plug up those systems. We have Vector trucks that go out and have to clean in our inlets. We have street sweepers, like I said, go out and sweep up the debris, the leaves, and try to take care of that. We have an annual city dividend that we pay. We have services that we have to use that are provided. We need to pay for those. We have a capital improvement program. So we wanted to get debt for our major projects. We have some major projects that we're ongoing right now. And then we wanted to have pay-as-you-go funding for our annual renew and replacement needs. Those are the smaller projects that we need to come out. Maybe if you have a pipe that's collapsed in the middle of a roadway, we wanted to come out and do that. And then we wanted to maintain or actually get a stormwater reserve fund. We don't want to go through another Ian. None of us do. We want to have some availability to reach into the reserves if we need to and fund some of the emergency projects that go on during either an emergency or disaster. So that was very important to have to try to get back up to a fund balance that we can carry. So real quick, the stormwater issues and needs. This is the vac truck that I have been talking about. These are our street sweepers that sweep. This is our water quality. We have staff that go out and measure our water quality, keep track of our water quality. We have a vegetation program what we maintain in our lakes to try to help with the vegetation that's in the lakes. A lot of times you'll see blooms that'll come up as far as hydrilla and this other aquatic life, aquatic plants. We want to make sure that that's not overcrowding our ecosystem. This is a little clip of something we see quite frequently. That's actually a bag of leaves that somebody has done the right thing and bagged up, but they put it in the curb and it eventually found its way down to a storm inlet and it plugged up the inlet. This calls for a lot of calls that we get. Hey, the water won't go down. What's going on? We go out there, send our crews out there, clean up this kind of thing. And then this is a picture from Ian. We all know that's the Cherokee Davis area that flooded pretty much the entire area down there. 4 more pictures. This is some more aftermath of what we had dealt with during the historic rainfall that we got during Ian and the importance in maintaining a healthy stormwater system. So a few facts at a glance. On an annual basis, the Streets and Stormwater Division of Public Works maintains water quality in 80 lakes. We have 84 retention ponds and 86 control ditches that we maintain. We manage over 50 weir board water control structures. Those are the boards that keep lakes at a specific level. And then on an annual average, we sweep almost 82,000 miles of street on a bi-weekly basis. That's collecting 34,000 cubic yards of debris. We have almost 50,000 stormwater inlets we have to maintain and 548 inlet baskets. That's something we put in some of the inlets that helps keep some of the leaves from going in the lakes. Over 1,000 miles of stormwater pipe, over 4,000 outfall pipes that are discharging into our lakes and ponds, and these numbers are increasing. As we see, we've had tremendous growth here in the city since 2008, which is great, but as we grow as a city, we also need to fund our stormwater system. So what needs to be done and what we got down to is we need to enact our new rate in 2 steps. This is some of the questions we heard the other night too. Step 1 is to update the rate. So what we're doing right now is updating that rate, try to get us to where we can get more money to cover what we need to do right now, because we are at a point, like I said, beginning, we no longer can cover our capital or our operating expenses if we continue where we go. We want to reduce the funding gap, and then the next step, and this is an important step, the next step that we're going to do is we're going to have the consultant look at another study to look at the modifications of our discounts and caps. There are several caps on here. Currently, right now, the residential properties are capped at 2,500 square feet. That's a conversion of what we did before, because today we measure our property in equivalent residential units, which is an estimate. We are converting from that ERU to a square foot of impervious area. That's the area that the rain falls on a hard surface and runs out. That's what we are going to. So we're getting away from an ERU. But currently, right now, everybody is capped residentially at a specific number. We tried to make that likewise as we transitioned into square footage, so the 2,500 square foot number was where the consultants made the recommendations to do that, and we agree. And then we're going to look at some of the discounts. Currently, right now, there's a lot of commercial properties that have some kind of a discount built into their stormwater rate. So we want to look at those discounts, understand it. It's a very complex system of what was created, and through the years, it's been modified somewhat, and we want to understand what that is so we can bring a better program forward. And then this is all to balance our stormwater budget and add capital projects by year 5. It's going to take us a while to get there. That doesn't mean we're going to sit back and not do projects too. This is something that's very important to us at Public Works, is to create and add stormwater projects, not only stormwater projects, but Public Works projects in general, but specifically to this, we want to add more projects going down the road. So the basis for that stormwater fee structure was to recover our revenue requirements. We wanted to look at fairness and equity in there. We wanted to look at our administrative feasibility. And then we want to create customer classes. So we have single-family residential, we have a multifamily residential rate, we have non-residential commercial, and we have vacant properties, okay? And each one of those are busted up into a specific class. I wanted to show you a chart real quick. This is our projected revenue requirements right now. If you look at the dashed line, that is our revenue rate at our current rate now, like right now, and you can see in the teal, that is just our operating expenses, and you can see by this year, we're getting into the point where we can no longer cover our operating expenses. So by 2026, we'll be even further in debt if we don't adjust this rate. So the rate that you see as the revenues at projected rates is the heavier dark line there. And we have a capital deficiency. Currently, right now, we had to borrow about $17 million just to make us even right now. And so we need to pay that back over time. So that's what you see, the capital deficiency there. And as we go forward, that capital deficiency is going to decrease because we'll be able to pay that monies back. So real quick, we wanted to see, we had to pick a number that we said this is an average number that we were going to use. It was 2,000. We took a 2,000 impervious square foot lot, and we calculated basically what the projected rates were going to be for fiscal years 25 through fiscal years 28. So next year, if this is enacted, you will see a change in monthly fee for a 2,000 square foot impervious lot to be about $3.50. Okay. From that point, the next year it goes up $3.37. The next year after that, it goes up another $3.37, and then in 2028, it rises $1.01. That helps resolve our annual capital funding deficiency. As you can see, by year 2027, we can have monies to do more projects, which is actually where we want to be. This is an existing versus proposed calculation. It shows real quick a residential, single-family, commercial, and the commercial OSWIM. The OSWIM is the Orlando Urban Stormwater Management Manual that was developed to enact some of the discounts. Since then, this has been replaced by something else, and so the discounts haven't been quite studied. That's the importance of doing this second study, to understand the caps and the discounts, is to go off of what we have currently right now instead of what we used to use and is no longer in use. And then our rate comparison. This is a chart showing our rate comparisons with other larger municipalities in the state of Florida. We're in the middle. We were currently in the middle. Existing right now, it changes to about $13.49, which puts us above cities like Gainesville and Cape Coral, but below. Tampa has actually two charges that they charge. They charge what's called their base rate, and then they have a capital charge of projects that are going in specific areas. That's broken out in specific sections in Tampa, so that's why you see Tampa on there twice. So their actual rate, you would have to add both of those rates and see that they're fairly significant on that rate charge. And I'm welcome to have any questions that y'all have I want to recap real quick before those questions. We did have another meeting last Wednesday. We had some good input. A lot of the questions had to deal specifically, and this is what we talked about, the cap. Why is the cap at 2,500 square feet? And we explained that 2,500 square feet is basically what's happening now, is there is a cap on our stormwater fee right now. We tried to transfer that over. That's essentially where the 2,500 square foot came from. There's some questions about the rate, the second step, basically, which was, the caps and the discounts. What's happening with that? Is there any possibility that we can put a discount in or a cap on this? We said we would love to do this study, and we'll bring back the recommendations after this study was created. And then we had some questions about why hasn't it been increased since 2008? And I said, well, we can start at this point, and we're going to go forward. But what we want to do here is we want to go forward. It's not any of our fault, but it's our problem. So let's go forward and get that taken care of. And so what we want to do is we want to bring more projects forward. We have built a capital improvement program that is fairly robust because we understand there's a lot of needs, especially since the historic rainfall of Ian brought out those needs. So this is something that we feel very strongly about, and we appreciate y'all's consideration and welcome to have any questions.
Questions for Corey, Commissioner Burns?
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Corey, for that presentation. And also, I had a chance to attend that meeting on last Wednesday, and I want to publicly commend you for the job that you did in explaining how we got here and how we need to move forward. So thank you for remaining poised and answering all the questions as you did. This is really an inconvenient time for many of our residents to be experiencing a increase, whether it be $3 or $4 a month or anything larger than that. But also, I understand that we are at a critical point right now where we have the aging infrastructure, and I have the privilege of serving a district that has a lot of those older homes, older communities, and we experienced some flooding during Ian, some things that really shocked me. I think we all recognize that some of the vulnerabilities that Ian displayed of our infrastructure. So there is a need for us to move forward with those infrastructure improvements. But one of the things that I after I listened to some of the comment in the meeting on Wednesday, there was this talk about, again, the rate caps and some of the discounts. And so when we talk about rate caps, I think there was a lot of good points that were made. So what does that look like if we go back to review the rate caps?
Yeah,
how early can that be done? And then if the decision is made that we need to get rid of caps, when would the recalculations kind of happen for us to be able to communicate the new rate that our residents will experience?
So that's a good question. July, we have a study that's going to take place, that's going to start, that's going to dig into those discounts and into those caps and try to figure out what's going on with those and try to recommend some further steps in the next steps. I'm not sure the timeline. I can get you the timeline back on how exactly long that study will take, but we want to start on that, and it's proposed to be started in July.
Okay. And so at that time, when we look at discounts, we'll look at the current discounts.
Yes.
And then have some discussions about some potential additional discounts moving forward as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yeah, to add to what Commissioner Burns just said, yeah, that's what I'm hearing too, because in my neighborhood, there's a lot of infill development, especially in our two lots. There used to be a single-family house. They buy the lot, they take down the single-family house, they put two monsters on it. And part of the problem that I'm having, and part of the problem I think the residents in my district have with it, is that, these houses are having an impact on the neighborhood. They have them put a landscape swale in, and the first thing they do when they move in is fill in that landscape swale, and then that increases the flooding for the other neighbors. So I think that we need to have a two-pronged approach to it. We need to look at the cap, because I do believe that the infill development is impacting stormwater because there's not as enough impervious surface available, but we also need to have a punitive aspect with it, because if there's no disincentive for people to fill in the percolation lots, or what is it called, retention areas, if they fill those in, then they are impacting and they are creating a stormwater problem for the other residents in the area. So I think it has to be a two-pronged system. And, I don't think it's fair for the smaller houses to have to absorb that. Now, wait a minute, y'all are going to be happy, we're going to have to raise it, okay? I'm just saying, I can't do $17 million, all right? We can't keep, this is a lot of money that we owe. But I want to make sure that we're doing it fairly, all right? And in order to do that, I think we do have to look at some of these other issues, including the cap. And there's going to be other residents, y'all are not going to be happy with me because they're going to lose their cap, but I think if you have a larger house, you should be able to afford that. If you can afford to build a 5,000 square foot house, you shouldn't be having a $2,500 bill.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm going to support it, but I do think that we need to look at it, and if taking the cap away then gives relief to the people in the smaller homes, I would like to see that as well.
Yeah. Thanks. And let me say, on the newer, if a newer development has come in or a new house has come in, it has to go through our engineering permits. They're required to hold their stormwater on their lot. It's also an enforcement thing, and we realize that sometimes there are some bad actors out there that aren't necessarily doing what they should do, so it's an enforcement issue as well.
I have seen it in College Park, I have seen it in Colonial Town, I have seen it all over where these, especially where there's R2 development. And it's going to start happening in the other areas too, as this gentrification goes on. You're going to be having more houses. I don't like what the zoning is either. Y'all have been fighting I've been fighting a lot of this large out-scale development too. But the concern is that there isn't, once they fill in that retention area, there is no way for us to know or to inspect or do any of that. So that's the frustration that I have with it. And I'm wondering why we even allow it if we don't make sure they keep it.
Yeah, well, it's by code right now is what we're doing, is by the engineering standards, so they should keep it now.
They don't
The
keep it.
enforcement afterwards is where the issue is.
They fill it in,
Yeah.
they fill it in the minute that they get their CO.
So, yeah.
Okay? That's all I had, Mayor, thank you.
Let's see, Commissioner Stewart, then Gray, then Burns.
Corey, we've talked about a lot. I've given some figures to you about having a fixed amount, just the idea of setting a fixed amount as opposed to, a couple of the questions I have come to mind. The rate schedule you have, what happens after 2028?
Nothing happens currently after 2028. There is no proposed increases after 2028
amount.
currently right now. It ends, that rate
Ends or goes?
stays where it is right
Okay.
now in 2028, what is shown.
Okay. The comments I've heard generally are, once you add a tax, you never take it back. Please. And there is some value to that. But at the same time, our citizens have not had the opportunity to contribute to where we are today, to the tune of somewhere between, over their 16-year tax bill, roughly about 60% would have gone to operations and the balance would have gone to capital projects if we had just added a 3% per year increase. So we got to figure out how we're catching up. So I'm trying to figure out, I think we need the money, that's number one. Number two is we need to look at the difference in where we are with discounts that we have, and then how do we do that in a timely manner that has an impact back on where we are. As an example, I'm completely okay with the first year, because we're trying to catch up. I'm kind of okay with the second year, because we're kind of catching up. After that, it seems to me that we don't have a formula or a plan that says, wait a second, the second year is where our cap is going to be, because we're going to come back and bring some other projects that will help with the revenue stream at that time. That's my point. If you go real quickly, if you look at the numbers, if we just do what you want to do for the first 2 years, that really only catches us up at a 3% increase roughly 2 years ago. I mean, I've done some quick math, and so we really aren't really caught up, but we kind of get there. And if that's the case, then where are we 2 years from now? Do we have a study? Do we have ability to readdress discounts?
Yeah.
Can we impose it at that time? I mean, the idea of, I know from a financing standpoint, we need to have a longer term so you can go borrow money. That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out where does that fit? Because if you end up going to the next 2 years and then arbitrarily oppose a 5% increase per year after that, you get to where you want to go, but it's 10 years from now. 10 years from now, the cost is much higher than what it is today, and that's the estimate you've got. So I'm trying to figure out where the fairness comes in.
Yeah, we want to do another study, just to put this out here too. We don't want to wait this long to do another study, right? And so the key is to keep up with the studies, to try to continuously analyze, if you will. It's just the same thing with your finance. You want to look at where you're at, year over year or every other year, saying, hey, are we where we want to be, right? So the thought is, hey, we do the caps and discounts, and then we almost basically commission another study. It's going to say, where are we at? What have we gotten done? Where do we need to be to understand where we are? So
where we are in a danger, I shared this with the Neighborhood Association a couple of weeks ago. Where we are in danger is that if we don't figure out how to fund this, then the funding essentially will come through general revenue.
That's right.
When it comes through general revenue, then our property holders are paying twice for the same thing.
Yep.
That's a really dangerous place to be in.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but the money's going to come from someplace, and this has to come out of one of those two. That's number one. The other second, which thing I'm a little bit, I always get puzzled at when I look at the county. The county doesn't have a stormwater fee effectively. They do MTSUs or MUST, whatever they call those things. And part of the reason is because the city residents give the county $215 million a year. And that money is spent outside of incorporated in the city of Orlando. So while those who, I would love nothing more than to say, treat us like a separate jurisdiction, give us the $215 million a year. I promise you we could do something better with it. But today what we're doing is that somebody's trying to call me, and I don't know why they're trying to call me. Today, that money that we give to the county inside the city is spent in unincorporated areas essentially for stormwater. Now, they do it through general revenue and a general bond through the general tax stuff. So we've got this really kind of weird deal. So the county says, I don't need it. And the answer is because I got this additional revenue coming from the city. That becomes kind of cumbersome to me, and I don't know how to correct all of those issues, but people need to understand that as we move forward.
Yeah. And there are some things, just to put this out there, there's some things that we work very closely with the county on, because there's some weird areas, especially around some of our lakes, where they kind of split in the middle almost. And so there's some exchanges there where, hey, you do this, we do this. So there's some cooperations in there. I don't know money-wise how that's divided out into, specifically what we need. But
I would argue, somebody's going to yell at me about it. I would argue that we're funding what they're discussing with you too. And I don't know how to fix that from that standpoint. Because from our standpoint, we've got to figure out how to increase this, and don't quite know what that is. But the third and fourth year, the problems I have, because that now we're ahead of where we were. We've got caught up. And I want some kind of assurance that within 2 years, we're looking at where we are after 2 years.
Yeah.
Because if we go to the 2-year bump and we go to automatic 3% for in perpetuity, that gets us about where we want to go in about 7 years, as opposed to 4 years. So that's kind of the math of it. I'm not a math expert. I can know how to run an Excel spreadsheet, but we can get there if we go a little bit different. And then people will say, well, look, I'm sorry, I didn't pay for 17 years. I'm going to get caught up. We're all going to get caught up. And then now we're going to have a fixed time where we're not going to have to go any further. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
Sure.
I don't know how to address that within the current ordinance. So, I mean, those are my questions to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gray?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very quick because I know we've got a lot of folks that want to talk, but I wanted to offer another perspective of what I hear from my residents. And as most of you know, I represent the southeast part of town, which is, for all intents and purposes, from kind of the Vista Lakes area, think Lee Vista Boulevard and Hoffner, all the way down east of the airport to Boggy Creek. And so there's two things we know about the quote-unquote Lake Nona or southeast area. One, the land is very low, which is one of the reasons why it's the last part of Orlando to develop, is because there's a lot of undevelopable land because it's very low. And the second thing we know is the majority of the housing stock and the commercial stock has been built within the last 20 years. And so as this last storm came, I was scared to death because I didn't know, given those two things, how we would do. And with the exception of the Vista Lakes area, where we had some flooding, and we think that was a lot about design more than capacity, working with Public Works, what we found is that because everything is relatively new, it's been built to new design standards. The pipes are bigger. The stormwater lakes are bigger than what a lot of the rest of the city has. And so with that, we did not have a lot of flooding issues in Lake Nona, much to my surprise. But here's what I hear from my neighbors, and I understand nobody wants to pay more, and why are we doing things different? But what I hear from my neighbors is, wait a minute, Jim, we kind of paid for a kind of a souped up stormwater program on steroids because the developers don't pay for that. They pass that on in the housing costs and the commercial costs. So what I hear from my neighbors is, gee whiz, Jim, I've already kind of paid for this through having an upgraded system, and now you're asking me to pay for it again. But, and I get that, but I think what we learned even earlier today with, the new jobs, we're a city. There are some areas that we have to help others, and that's okay. So what I push back, and the reason I support this is I told my neighbors, look, I understand. We are maybe paying a premium because our stuff is brand new and to higher standards and cost us more, but the rest of the city needs some serious upgrading, and that stuff's expensive. And so that's why I support it. Is because there's parts of our city that are a lot older that just don't have the capacity and the stormwater to cover it. And so thank you, Mayor, for letting me share that. And it's just another perspective that while some of us feel like it's kind of a burden, and it is, there's others that say, wait a minute, I've kind of already paid for a more advanced system. Now I'm going to get a higher increase. Well, unfortunately, we've got to do that to help all of the city. So thank you, Mayor, very much.
Commissioner Sheehan?
And if I can just add to what Commissioner Gray just said, when we had to redo Anderson, it was so bad, you could look down the road and there was literally nothing but potholes that followed the stormwater. You could just see, you could follow that line of potholes that's where everything was leaking. And when they dug that road up, those baffle boxes were made of cypress wood. It was clay pipe and cypress wood. So yes, while Commissioner Gray's got new infrastructure, we don't, and we need to upgrade it, and it's expensive. So, those are the difficult choices we have to make. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just one question, Corey. If we do nothing today, what does that look like?
If we do nothing, we're going to have to cut some operations, definitely. We won't be able to do as much with our upkeep, our stormwater upkeep. I mean, we have people that we employ to do a job, and we have to pay for those.
They're saying they
people,
can't hear
right?
you.
We have people that we employ, and we have to pay for those people to do a specific job. And if we don't have enough money to pay for the operations, we're going to do the operations, right? But we're going to have to get the money from somewhere. So as was thought, we're going to have to
And you're already 17 million.
and we're already 17 million with an ask for next year of $7 million more just to try to do some facilities that we have put off for a long time. We're doing work right now that we probably should have done before now. We just kind of said, hey, well, let's look at it next year, and we're to the point right now where we can really no longer kick that can. We're kind of at the cul-de-sac right now, and we got to figure out whether we want to kick it back up the road or if we want to just get our hands dirty and get to work and do these things.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really at odds with this decision because I see the work that our staff have done, and it's cannot be compared to anything else. They have really struggled with this, and I know that for a fact. You guys have done a wonderful job. And as you said before, it's not your fault. It's not our fault, but it's our problem. So we have to deal with this. But then again, I'm thinking of my seniors on fixed income. I'm thinking of disabled people on fixed income, and I'm wondering how I want to help them keep their homes, and because inflation, everything is going up. Insurance rates are going sky high. It's going to a point where a lot of people we're creating, while we're trying to solve the problem of homelessness, we may be creating more problems with this. So, and we discussed, and as I said before, that our staff has been wonderful, and we have looked for all kinds of options to see how we can deal with this. And I asked for a study to prolong this, to make the decision, because we have to do a more detailed, a scientific study on how to do this. We have to deal with the caps. I think 2,500 square feet of impervious area as an umbrella for everybody, it doesn't do the job for all of us. The same thing goes to the commercial side. We need to be more equitable when it comes to those things. So, and then I'm trapped because I also know that we have to make a decision. So as totally between a rock and a hard place here. But you know what? Today, I'm going to rather see us a little bit of less services, but not put our seniors out of their homes or disabled people, because that's an even greater concern, and I cannot lay my head on a pillow thinking that there's people out there that won't be able to do something to sleep. So with that being said, I did promise I'm heading to Washington next week, so I'm gonna see if we can get some funding over there somewhere somehow. But we need to find other ways of making this money, because we're in the black here, we're in a hole, and we need to come up with those monies. So somebody has some other greater ideas, please bring it to the table, because we do need, because sooner or later it's hitting us right now. It's not like sooner or later it's gonna hit us. It's hitting us right now. We have to do something about it. I also believe that because, of course, the increase of population and the increase of development, that's creating a heavier burden to all of us, and that's creating a lot of these issues we have. So I don't know, maybe, and I know that we cannot have impact fees while we have a rate that we charge, but something has to be done in order for some of these new developers to pay for some of this too. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So thank you, Corey. So there's two things here. We should have gradually increased rates sometime between 2008 and now, so it doesn't. And then the second thing is, it's never a good time to raise a fee.
That's right.
Never.
Yes.
So I've been here for 20 years, and whether it's stormwater, whether it's garbage, whether it's sanitary, or any other fees we have, it's never a good time to raise a fee. And unfortunately, and I'll take the blame for it, kicked the can down the road for 14 years, so now when it's time to catch back up, it comes as a shock, since we haven't done it at 2% a year for the last 8 years or whatever it should have been.
And let me say this, I don't think anybody anticipated the amount of inflation that we have experienced, especially in construction projects. And let me say this, kind of as the end here, I've witnessed just over the last 5 years, the construction projects have increased by twice of what we thought they should be, and anybody that has experienced somewhat of a construction or anything in that realm have seen how astronomically these prices have increased. And so I don't think you could have looked out in the crystal ball and said, yeah, it's going to be this bad.
That's
right?
fair.
Yeah.
I would say probably the first 10 years of that.
Yeah.
We looked at this and said,
Yeah.
oh, we don't need to
Yeah.
increase stormwater rates.
That's right.
And then the last 4 or 5 or 6 years, the construction.
Yes, sir.
And everything we've done.
Yeah.
Has doubled.
Has just doubled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but we have
Thank
people in
you.
the audience who would like to weigh in on this as well, so let's get back to that. So next up is Raymond Funk, and then Portia Maltzby. Did I get that right, Commissioner Burns? Yes. And then Clay Rivers.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Raymond Funk. I live at 2816 Huntington Street, 32803. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to share my objection to the passing of this agenda item. I think it's safe to say that everybody doesn't mind paying their fair share to live in Orlando, in this amazing city. But what I do object to today is the methodology used that was just stated a few minutes ago and discussed on the way that the increase is calculated. And I'm going to speak specific to my situation, single-family residential dwelling unit. The idea that the rate is calculated on impervious area. In the case of the letter that I received, it states that you calculate the impervious area of my property to be 2,728 square feet. And the assumption would be that because you're using that calculation, the impervious area, my rooftop, my driveway, my pool deck, and the like, that the assumption is that all of the water that hits that sheds into the city's stormwater system. But I would say that methodology is misleading and, in fact, in many cases, not true. I know, and I'll speak to my street, most of the stormwater that hits the driveways or the rooftops or any other hard surface sheds and percolates into the planter beds and the yard and the grass before it enters into the city's stormwater system. In fact, I would say that even my driveway, most of that water sheds into a dry well on my property because of the way it was designed. It's an older 1950s home. The only part of my property that actually sheds into the street is about 200 square feet of the curb cut at the entrance to my driveway. So I would encourage you all, and it sounds like the discussion today was going in this direction, that more consideration be given to a more equitable way to assess the costs of the people of the city. We do not want flooded streets. I'll speak for myself. I don't want a flooded street. So I understand the price of things increases and that there are going to be rate increases, but I do object to just this blanket approach of applying a calculation that really is not applicable or appropriate to the way the increase is justified. So, thank you.
Thank you. Portia, and then Clay Rivers, and then Carl Maltz. B.
To Mayor Dyer and the Commissioner, the council members, thank you for this opportunity. I'm aware that, and I understand that the need to generate additional revenue for providing the storm service utility, and that it has not increased since 2008. Nevertheless, I express my opposition to the stormwater utilities fee increased for the following reasons. Many communities have been subjected to decades of inequalities in the funding of infrastructure community maintenance services. As a form of compensation, I propose exempting these communities from these fees, but I also propose passing on the cost, as indicated earlier, to new development and building entities. Also to consider other ways of funding these needed services, including, as was mentioned earlier, federal funding. My second objection has to do with the number of senior citizens that was also mentioned earlier, who have, from these communities, who have owned their properties and have maintained them for years. And the proposed 20% increase does not consider the ability for living on fixed incomes and declining incomes to budget this increase. For this group, I propose that the current rate is grandfathered in, and any percentage of increase is tied to the increase of their annual Social Security's income. Thank you for considering these suggestions.
Thank you. Clay Rivers. followed by Carl Maltzby and Aaron Kaufmano.
Mayor Dyer and City Commissioners, thank you for having me here today. My name is Clay Rivers. I live at 911 West Lakeland Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32805. I'm a native Orlandoan, a Jones High and Rollins College graduate, and the Washington Shores Neighborhood Association president. In 1946, Washington Shores was established as Orlando's first neighborhood explicitly designated for black professionals. Many came from across the state and made Washington Shores their home, and have been blessed to age in the forever homes they or their parents built and purchased. But they live on fixed incomes. Washington Shores infrastructures have been woefully underfunded and underdeveloped by local administrations for decades, and pale in comparison to those of white neighborhoods. Our neighborhood regularly suffers street flooding, overflow, and standing water due to an insufficient or inadequately maintained stormwater infrastructure. To raise our rates while the current fees don't sufficiently address the community's needs is unjust. Between 2024 and 2028, the proposed stormwater utility fee will increase 131%, which is well above the rate of inflation, and will force many of our seniors and seniors across Orlando to sell their homes, and will ultimately lead to gentrification. A quote attributed to Mayor Dyer at Central Florida Pledge reads, "Together we can continue to show that our community is welcoming, inclusive, and compassionate. Displacing seniors on fixed incomes is not compassion. It's a municipal hardship to people already residing in economically oppressed neighborhoods. This council and its partners have many tools at their disposal to enact genuine compassion. Why isn't there a sliding scale based on income level, age, disability, or length of residence? On behalf of the Washington Shores residents and others unable to voice their opposition to this rate of increase, I ask that you reject your current proposal and present your constituents with an equitable and compassionate solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl Maltzby, Aaron Cusmano, Brett Gardelio.
Mayor Dyer, council members, and a special shout out to Councilman Burns, Councilmember Sheehan for attending Mr. Knight's community workshop. I understand the cost of providing the stormwater utility service has increased since the 2008 rate was set. However, I'm against the stormwater utilities fees increases as proposed. 1, the metrics used to derive the proposed figures are flawed. For example, comparing our rates to Miami-Dade County, in which the city-county government structure is one and the same and not separate entities as in Orlando and Orange County. Where are the comparisons of the rates between the municipalities within Orange County? 2, the capped amounts create inequity in the implementation of the fees. A more equitable scale needs to be created. And I know some of this sounds redundant, but I think the more we hear it, maybe we can get to a more desirable solution. Number 3, for we seniors who for 25 to 50 plus years have been faithful stewards of the properties in our charge in keeping Orlando, the city, beautiful, the possibility of 20% increase per year of a plan imposes a hardship when our earning potential is on the decline. any plan should grandfather in the aforementioned seniors at the current rate, and any percentage of increase should be tied to the percentage of annual increase of Social Security income. Not everyone who wants to live in Orlando means that that person has a right to live within the confines of a small, restricted area. Environmental and federal grants, thank you, Commissioner Ortiz. I'm glad to hear you going up to Washington to make that pitch. A lot of this is climate related. We need to use all the federal resources available to us to try to help us resolve our problem. So please reject and send this plan back to staff with the instruction to do further research, amend, and limit with limitations, time and fund limitations. Thank you.
Aaron Cuffmano. Or something that sounds similar to that. Okay, Brett Giardello. Giardelli. Lyra Williams. Jonathan Fitzgerald.
Brett Giardello, 226 East Muriel Street, 32806. I feel about the same way, that I'm not really objecting to an increase in taxes if it's necessary. The manner in which they're going about it it is regressive. Everybody basically is going to be paying the same fee for stormwater. I live in one of the smallest houses in town, and I'm already at the max tax at 2,400 square feet of impermeable surfaces. If somebody builds a 6,000 square foot mega mansion, they're going to be paying the same stormwater sewage fee as me, which doesn't make any sense at all. It's completely regressive. If this was part of our property taxes, we would be protected from this kind of increase because your property taxes are based on the value of your house. If you buy a $10 million house, you're going to pay more in property taxes. If you buy a $100,000 house, you pay less in property taxes. Why is the stormwater sewage charge separated completely from our taxes? If it was connected to our taxes, it would be proportional to your wealth based on your home. It doesn't make any sense the way this is being done. If Bill Gates moved into this town and bought a $10 million house, he'd be paying the same stormwater fee as me. It's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense at all. And, Commissioner Sheehan stole a lot of my thunder when pointing out the same thing. They're knocking down these little cottages in my neighborhood like mine and building these McMansions. They're supposed to keep the water on site, but they're not. They cut down all the trees to build the house, and now we've got a stormwater problem, and we're all paying the same stormwater charge. It doesn't make any sense. If you have to raise taxes, we want to live in a civilized society, you got to pay taxes. That's the way it works. But it should be proportional. The wealthiest should pay the most, the poorest should pay the least. Thank you.
Thank you. Lyra Williams. Jonathan Fitzgerald.
Mayor, Commissioners, Jonathan Fitzgerald. Patty, especially nice to see you. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, I do appreciate your service and also providing me with the opportunity to speak with you today and my peers. I think we understand stormwater is becoming more of an issue, especially what we saw during the hurricane with Ian and many others. And what I think we're hoping for is there is an opportunity to look at other ways for providing this funding. I understand the city has taken out a loan of $17 million. While this is significant and we want to take care of our city, we understand we have to pay taxes and we want to keep the city beautiful. Also understand that there's consideration to give a $40 million tax credit to a new developer who is proposing to build on Church Street. The reason I make this comparison is developers are in the industry of making money, typically significant amounts of money, whether they are large developers, even small developers. As Patty pointed out earlier, many of the homes, I live in Eola Heights, and as I drive through College Park, Delaney Park, other areas, I'm seeing homes that are being taken down, and either 2, 3 homes are being built, or a home that has substantial square footage put on that lot. So my hope would be that consideration is taken to charge a fee, add some type of tax, some other method. I don't pretend to have the answers to it, but to figure out a way for some of these developers to participate at a more substantial rate rather than kicking this back to the homeowners. The idea of a tax or fee on a smaller homeowner, which you've heard today, who are already experiencing the burden of higher taxes, higher insurance, higher cost of goods, inflation, is just probably not the most logical way to go. My major concern is I think this could become a hardship for some of these people, and in the near future, they would be forced to move from their homes or from the city beautiful. So I hope today you will just hear our plea, our suggestions, our comments, our reflection, and that there will be more research, more work done to come up with a better plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Fitzgerald.
That was Jonathan.
Oh, that was Jonathan. Sorry, I got one behind. Okay, David Cates. David Cates. Macy Nysom. And then Celeste Thomas, and then Donna Cooper.
Good evening, Macy Nysom, Wooden Boulevard. This is the day the Lord has made. I come to you with a message from Him. How can you continue to charge the citizens of the city for something you didn't take care of with the funds that were already given to you in advance? The west side of Orlando has been underserved for years, back as far as 1946. Our infrastructure is very deteriorated, but you continue to allow people to build in that community without checking the land before they build. We have investors that come in, they don't even do what they're supposed to do. If you dug out there in Washington Shores now, you would be surprised what's under the ground out there. I was told just the other week, Orange Center, you allowed them to build Pandana, and it was asbestos out there, and they never told the people that that was there. And all that stuff went right out into Clear Lake. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want anything that will cause us any more sickness. Please stop these investors from building in neighborhoods that has been underserved so many years. My suggestion to the city's citizens in Orlando today, that we need to appeal this decision if you go forward to pass this bill. And we need to appeal it to the Supreme Court in the state of Florida. Because we need more transparency for the people who are sitting and leading us, city commission and the mayor. We need more transparency on how our money is being spent. I happen to be one of those seniors that's on a limited income. And what they're suggesting here today, I don't understand. If my house is 1,500 square feet, and you telling me it's 2,000 something, and I have, because you're using my garage, my roof, and I have gutters around, and let me tell you, the water goes in the backyard. Little water goes down that driveway. So I'm asking you all today to make a different decision about what we're going to do about the city of Orlando. And I know I have said that West Orlando is in bad shape, but I've been told by an engineer the whole city of Orlando is in bad shape as far as the infrastructure.
Celeste Thomas. Donna Cooper, Jorge Figueroa.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for letting us all speak our mind here. First, I would like to say that I appreciate your service to the city. I also love my city, having served on numerous boards over the past 25 years, from Parks and Rec to the Board Review Committee, and currently the Chair for the Nominating Board of City of Orlando. I understand the need to increase the fees for maintenance and to keep things running smoothly. Because this department has not raised fees in over 16 years, that makes it look like it's very mismanaged. Not Corey's fault, because he's only been there 2 years. I did find that out the other day. He's trying to fix the problem now. So now, accruing millions of dollars in debt and trying to make up for not having a consistent increase over the years has been very, very badly mismanaged. So a few things I would like to address. I do not feel like due diligence was done to notify homeowners about the workshops and seminars that have been held over the past few years about this. Capping the residential fee and making it an average 2,000 square foot space pay the same fee as a 10,000 square foot space is totally unfair and wrong. The city is allowing lots to be cleared of houses and trees, then zoning it multifamily. Charge the developers more, because not only are they taking away all the green space, they are adding 6 to 12 times as many cars, which means it adds soot, dirt, and oil that goes into the runoff into our lakes. As I suggested at the open house last week, every company that is issued a license or permit to mow and landscape should have to take a class every time they renew. This way they understand the impact of blowing the clippings into the street and the fees that they will be charged if they are reported. This will cost less than marketing campaigns and the studies that have been done. And I would like to find out how much it's been the cost is for all these studies that keep being done. We asked for that last week, and I would like to see the fees on that. So over 25 years, I have watched Lake Robama, where I live, being sprayed with chemicals to control weeds and algae. I am sure this is being done in many lakes around the city. This is not fixing the problems, it's just wasting our resources and adding unnecessary chemicals to the lakes. You know what Einstein says about doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Not working. So I think that we do need also to, I'm sure you're going to pass this because we do need the money, and we can't move forward without the money. But I do think that if you could add to that, that you want a specific date on when you're going to readdress some of these caps and discounts and different things that are, especially like the 2,500 versus the 10,000 square feet. So I would like a specific date on that instead of you just passing it without having any of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna Cooper, Jorge Figueroa, Luana Gelzer.
Donna Cooper's
Donna-
on Zoom. If you can please unmute your device.
Say that again?
She's on Zoom.
Online. Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I apologize, a little congested. I was wondering that, President Biden had gave each state money for infrastructure. Have y'all not gone to Tallahassee to get money from them? Also, like I said, I'm just upset right about now. Y'all can write grants, from everything else, but you want to nickel and dime all of us. And like I say, I've been in Richmond Heights since 1966. I've lived behind the canal since 1966. This canal has not been cleaned out in over 30 years. Trees are hanging over in this canal, and nobody has been out here. You come and cut, even the people that come and cut don't even report these trees hanging over this canal, and y'all want to raise our rates, and y'all don't do anything. And as far as the storm goes for Ian, let me tell y'all something. That night that storm came through here, this canal has never leveled off and the street not flooded. That canal leveled off about 8 o'clock p.m. I watched it. I stayed up to 2 o'clock in the morning. The street had not flooded. I went to sleep. When I woke up the next day, we got flood in the front and the back. Somebody released that water to be back up in that street. I could not believe that for the first time in our lifetime that canal leveled off. and the street was not flooded. But that water was released to back up in that street. We was flooded front to back. So the infrastructure is already there. And y'all want to keep nickel and diming us. Go to Tallahassee, get that money that Biden gave for infrastructure and stop nickel and diming us to death. Because we are an older neighborhood, just like these people saying, we don't have these new houses that these people got. But why we got to pay what they pay and y'all haven't done anything in years? You're going to talk about y'all done sit and kick the road down the road. That's not our fault. Y'all kicked the bucket. That's not our fault. That's y'all fault. Don't nickel and dime us. Y'all got enough money. And if you don't have enough money, get to Tallahassee and get some of that grant money that was given to the state and stop nickel and diming us to death. I want to make sure I got all my points across. I'm so upset. But yeah, I think that's basically it. But yes, get the money from Tallahassee. It was given to the state. I'm done.
Thank you. Okay, Jorge Figueroa.
Yes, here, thank you. I want to thank you, Mayor. I'm George Figueroa. I live at 1049 Kristen Park Drive. I'm part of Commissioner Gray's residence. I want to thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for your service to our community. I appreciate all you're doing. I appreciate the staff who has spoken and outlined all the different facets that are involved in this. There's been a lot of great information. I learned even more than what I knew walking in here. Some of the arguments I think are very valid. The seniors in particular are part of what I wanted to espouse in this morning. Not only do I have a mother, but I'm a pastor and I also represent many people. With that said, I'm speaking to you as a resident, as a homeowner, and as a community leader in East Park 5 community. I'm here to represent the 900 plus homes of the East Park communities, as I said, of which are represented by Commissioner Gray. I understand, as the Orlando Sentinel reported, what I believe is correct. Orlando's proposed stormwater fee hike sparks outrage. Understanding you as city leaders have a difficult task ahead of you, I believe that the city perhaps is underfunded in this area and that you do need to close the gap and that there is a definite need in our community. But the time of sacrifice should not be now. There are many people who are suffering financially in this difficult time. As I said, I have a mother who's on limited income, like some of the ones that have spoken here, and her $400 surplus would literally put her under if her home was given the stormwater increase. The law of timing suggests that when to lead is as important as what to do. At the time when the nation is suffering of severe inflation, the residents of our city are having to make dramatic limitations on what to spend with the limited resources they have. I think sometimes even the city needs to make tough decisions and cut back in other areas perhaps. I wanted to speak to something, I know Commissioner Gray knows this. When I first moved to Orlando, I lived in different parts of Orlando, the west side, certain parts on the east side. Now I live in the Lake Nona corridor. One of the things that was presented to us was the CDD. And at the time when we bought the home, we didn't know fully what it was. But now it's been described as what we, the residents that moved into those areas, were responsible for paying a portion of the infrastructure. I looked it up and it says in the Florida statutes 190:12, and I'm sure many of you know this, part of the fees that the district collects from us every year on top of the taxes, on top of all the other different fees that we're charged, is the water management and control for the lands in the district. The CDD is responsible for the water supply, the sewer, the wastewater management, reclamation, and reuse of the water. It's used for the construction and operation to conduct sewer outlets, sewer maintenance, sewer pipes. I think you know the rest of it. We've been paying not only our taxes in the Lake Nona area, and I'm not rich by any stretch. We pinch our pennies just like anybody else. And we've managed to be there. I'm an original owner in that area. I've been there 19 years, going on 20. I've been paying my fair share through the CDD. We've also paid our taxes. I appreciate the time, if you just give me one more moment. But the thing is, there needs to be equity, as some of the residents have said. If we've paid into this fund, the CDD fund, on top of our taxes, then something has to be done, because we've literally paid for the piping that saved us during all the storms. So why should we be taxed again, given an assessment fee or an additional fee, when we've already paid not only our taxes, the CDD fee for the last 18 years in my case, and now we're asked to pay an increase of 100% to help cover different areas of the city. I want to help my neighbors too, but there's a place and a time. I don't think now's the time to raise our taxes or to increase this fund. I hope you'll pause it and hold back on it. God bless you guys.
Thank you. Luana Gelzer. Cynthia Harris. After Cynthia Harris, Ralph Suarez and Eric Kurtze.
Cynthia Harris, 12 Shannon Avenue, Orlando. We can all agree that something must be done to offset future flooding. However, before Ian, I have come here numerous occasions to talk about Rattlesnake Park for more than 10 years. My cries for assistance of this constant flooding have fallen on deaf ears. Why? Because if you don't live east of I-4, you're not a priority. Many of our communities are already struggling to meet today's costs, especially with inflation, and under a taxing system that is well outdated. Now you want to throw a detrimental intrusion that would certainly be a significant burden for us, especially for those who are on fixed incomes. We don't need any more studies. We've been studied enough. How long have you been studying us? A cap of 2,500 square feet is unfair, and you know it, especially when most of us have homes that are less than 1,100 square feet, and that's including the roof. Why should we bear the burden of the rich? People in Lake Nona and College Park, they can afford these big homes that they live in. We cannot. This fee should be assessed on a case-by-case basis with an emphasis of protecting low and fixed income residents. Also, there was just an announcement of a new sports complex. How much will they pay? Or will they have to pay? Do we have to constantly bear the burden of large entities and corporations who will not give back to our communities? It is unfair and unjust. The rich get richer and the poor remain destitute. We should not be penalized for the failures of the Stormwater Department not adjusting their rates since 2008. You had no problem adjusting our taxes by 17.7% in 2014, and we bit that bullet. But now you want to penalize the residents for your failure to protect us from constant flooding and poor roads that have not been corrected in the West community for over 40 years. What I will request is that new developers be required to design permeable pavement as an initiative to go green, as they are the cause of the destruction that's going on in our community. Permanent paving has a 25-year lifespan. I will also ask that you table this until you come up with a more feasible solution to protect the residents you claim to care about. Again, we are tired of being studied. Stop bringing those street sweepers in there, and they are polluting our drains as well. Thank you.
Ralph Suarez. Eric Kurtze, and then Cecil Stone.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Ralph Suarez. I live at 9719 Lake District Lane. That is over in the East Park area near one of the first subdivisions over in the Lake Nona. And we too echo the sentiments of each and every one of you in this room. We would hope that this petition could be reconsidered. We did suffer, at least on my street, very similar incidents with our past hurricane, where we had youngsters the day after canoeing, like we saw many of the pictures in the newsreels, in our street. The water took about 5 or 6 days before it resided. The big question here is, we've been there almost 20 years, and this was the first time that we had experienced that. So the only thing we could think of was two things: or either our drainage system, stormwater drainage system, wasn't taken care of the way it should have been, or new development in the area was having a secondary effect, and it wasn't good. As I mentioned, I'd just like for this to be reconsidered and maybe come up with some creative ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Kurtze. Close, okay. and then Cecil Stone and Debbie Smith. Those are pretty easy.
Mayor, Commissioners, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I am very familiar with how this process works. This is what I do for a living. And I have had intimate relationships on a professional basis with the planning department, the engineering department, the zoning department, permitting and inspection services, and all I can say is that everybody who works there knows what they're doing, and they do an exceptional job of it, and I am subject to their determinations on a weekly basis to tell my clients that they have to hire a civil engineer to design their residential drainage patterns and retention ponds, how it's maintained. I completely agree with the commissioner that there's problems with it, but it has to be done. There's costs associated with it. But on a personal basis, when I got this form and notification that my rate from today until 2028 was going up 230%, I got bothered. It may be $100 or so, whatever it is, doesn't mean that the 230% isn't wrong. That is the part that bothers me the most. And then, as another gentleman pointed out a few minutes ago, within a week or so of getting this notification, the news was letting us know that a major development of a very profitable organization that is associated with downtown Orlando is getting a substantial tax credit to develop a new piece of property. The two things made no sense to me at all, that they are going to have their taxes reduced while we encourage them to build more, and we have to compensate for their tax credit with ours going up on a percentage basis. It's not just the numbers, it's the percentage. Other than that, I live in an isolated little community that about 30 years ago used to be an orange grove which froze out, and it was built and designed according to the requirements of the city of Orlando. It does not connect to any system outside the city. It is an isolated storm system that eventually drains into a small lake that's suffering the consequences. We even accept drainage from Orange County because of the way it was designed. For me to have to pay more to support that system, again, it bothers me. Everybody here who's contributed to this, I agree with everything that they've said. It is just that it is not appropriate at this time, or it should have been handled differently. But I appreciate the opportunity to present. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cecil Stone. Okay. Followed by Debbie Smith and Charles Zito.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, et cetera. Really do appreciate you guys giving us some time on this, and we know this is dragging on for y'all. My name's Cecil Stone. I was actually a born and raised Orlando person. Been a native of Orlando for 60 years. And we've been at 120 East Cayley since '96 when we moved into town. I'm very proud to call Orlando my home and show off my town to visitors from all over the world to come to a couple of different businesses that I own. I'm 100% behind Orlando staying ahead of the curve on stormwater or nearly any other program. My particular situation is I have a house that's got a crawl space, so the only bloody impervious surface I have on the whole place is my driveway. So the water actually perks when it's under my house. I'm concerned about the escalation of the rate every year to a point that is, in my opinion, very high. To say that we, the public, are reeling from these rate increases is an understatement. I agree with Commissioner Sheehan and Commissioner Stewart that we need to stop these increases, especially after 2 years. And I would like the city to reevaluate the escalation of the rates as indicated in the legislation proposed to possibly voting for a single-year rate increase and reevaluate the needs annually thereafter. The goal would be transparency and accountability to prove the need continues to escalate. We know that there's a need. We think that there's a better way to get this money. I also strongly agree with the state of Florida has got an excess of funds. They say that they're going to give them to the cities and the counties. Let's call them on their bluff. Thank y'all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Debbie Smith, Charles Zito, Richard Nielsen.
Hello, my name is Debbie Smith. I live at 830 Palm Drive in Commissioner Sheehan's district. I attended the stormwater meeting on May 8th and listened to the concerns and suggestions made by the City of Orlando residents and business owners. I do not feel that the fee structure as proposed is fair and equitable, which is actually stated right here as one of the goals from the city. The Step 2 evaluation of the cap and the discount structure will begin next year. That's when the evaluation in this study happens. However, Step 2 wouldn't be implemented until year 4 and beyond, as stated in the presentation. Therefore, there would be 4 years of fees at the proposed structure. For example, under the proposed structure, single-family homes would be capped at 2,500 square feet of impervious area. What this means is that homes with more than 2,500 square feet of impervious area are not paying a fair amount. These larger homes are being subsidized by those in small homes with less impervious area. This makes no sense to me and is obviously not fair. Just because there was a cap, this was a reason it was given to us. Just because there was a cap before, they just decided to keep it now. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be corrected now. Smaller homes should not have to subsidize the larger homes for 4 years while Step 2 is being reviewed. If the cap was removed, then it would be possible to adjust the fees possibly fairly, reducing the financial impact currently being proposed. So I propose that we scrap the fee, or scrap the cap for a fair and equitable fee structure. That's my main proposal, but I am very confused about how the impervious area was calculated. My home, I actually measured it, and I measured 900, and I'm getting charged for almost 2,000. So that must be some kind of government logic. I just don't get it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Charles Zito. And then Richard Nielsen, followed by Conroy Williams.
Hi, everyone. My name is Charles Zito. I'm at 4806 Coachman's Drive in Orlando, and I want to make this short and sweet. None of us want this. Some of these things, studies. How much does a study cost? Let's have another study. Call Mr. Big. Hey, Mr. Big, I need another study. Make it good. How much does that cost us? We don't need studies. The money you pay for studies, pay for your debts. $17 million. $17 million is a lot of money for a lot of us. But not the big companies, the corporations, the greedy people, the CEOs. They write it off. They send it to wherever. They put it on the little guys like us. They all stink. We know that. Somebody's got to say it, you know? It's the truth. We agree. So anyway, these companies are, they should be paying the bills. The formula, again, I think this beautiful gal said, the formulas, and somebody else said it, they're not proportionate. X plus Y equals Z. Not for everybody, okay? Everybody's in a different category. Somebody's this big, somebody's this big, somebody's that big. So that's got to be proportionate. You got to get your math together. Hire a scientist and a mathematician. That's what you got to do. Forget about all these people who know nothing. Get the right people to do the right job. That's number one, okay? Or number two, or number three. Keep it going. The developers, next point, the developers who do all of these things. Again, the guy said it, make a lot of money. Well, they need to be put on the list of fixing all of these little problems before they go and develop the land and cause us problems later. That has to be on them, okay? The developers. Okay. Now, who is in charge here? Who are we? We the people? We are the people. Put you where you are. We say no. We don't want it. So we pay your salaries. We say no, so back it off. Just forget about it. Okay? That's it. There's another one there we don't need. Again, people mentioned, 4 years, doubling their situations with the fees. 100%, 200%. The first gentleman over here, I think his name was Mike, came up. The poor guy, $600 he was paying. Now he's paying what, $2,500? He was in the city, he was in Orange County, and he got assessed into the city, right? I think that's what it was. He went into the city, but he didn't ask for that. But they certainly gave him the bill that he didn't ask for either. We're all suffering because of these things that you guys decide that shouldn't be. We are the ones who should be deciding what's right for us. Okay, we said a prayer before. The gentleman led us in a prayer. And you know what he said? We're praying to help the community and to help the city of Orlando like it needs help. Right? Yeah, it needs help. The community is your first thing. Oh, what are we on? Is that Jeopardy? Vanna, can you go get $17 million? $17 million. That's what we need, right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My time is up.
Correct.
Well, let me tell you, we don't want it.
Okay, Richard Nielsen, Conroy Williams, John Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer, and all the commissioners. I appreciate this opportunity to talk. My name is Richard Nielsen. I'm the Vice President of Coach Homes, Mariners Village, and I am in District 2, Tony Ortez. The reason why I decided to attend here today is because I did get the letter, like everyone else, and I'm opposed to the raise, the increase, because of the fact that I live in a community with a lot of elderly people who are on fixed incomes, as a lot of other people have said, and either on Social Security or on a retirement, and which they can't afford these increases. These increases would probably devastate a lot of those people. I mean, with everything going up in price, you know, your cable, your phone, taxes, this, that, it's very hard on people who are on a fixed income. So I think I speak for them and many other communities in the Orlando area that I think we should try to revisit this and maybe determine if there's other ways of maybe getting the appropriate funds to take care of this. And one of them may be by impact fees of these new big housing developments that are coming around, businesses as well. And, you know, I mean, as one person stated, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class support everybody. I mean, it's unfortunate. The middle class pay the most in taxes. We're the backbone of America, basically. So me being a retired postal worker, I know because I paid a lot of money in taxes, and I see rich people paying a lot less. But that's near or there. I just want to say that whatever you guys can do as our elected officials, if you could revisit this and try to make some other arrangements, especially for the older people, and maybe get discounts or maybe some caps, that would be greatly appreciated. I thank you, and my community thanks you.
Thank you. Conroy Williams and then John Parker. Conroy Williams? No. John Parker?
I want to thank the commissioners for hearing us today. Basically, I have the same question about the fuzzy math used to decide the impervious surfaces, but my house is surrounded by grass all around, and only a small portion of the property, which is mainly the driveway, which floods into or puts rainwater into the street. However, our community, which is Grant Station Homeowners Association, we have our own stormwater retention area. We have private roads we put in with stormwater drainage goes into the stormwater retention area. But I don't think any of that's being investigated in these fees. It's just like you're just throwing this flat rate with fuzzy math to determine what fees everyone's paying. And I don't agree with those fees. So I think rather than charge people to solve this problem through taxation or through these fees, I think you should try to incentivize ways to reduce, mitigate stormwater retention from berms and swales, or maybe investigating storm drainage for your rooftop spouts to drain into storm barrels, things like that. So rather than charge fees for the residents, you should look into incentivizing ways to reduce or mitigate storm drainage. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all the requests we have for public testimony, so We're on discussion. We've had a lot of discussion from the public and a lot of discussion from you guys before we got to discussion from the public. So do I hear anybody that needs to have further discussion? Commissioner Stewart.
Yeah, Mayor, let me go back. Corey, show us the breakdown again. I'm assuming that we could make changes here if we needed to, or the second question is from a timing standpoint, any changes that need to be posted need to be done prior to what time to be able to get on next tax bill?
Right now, I think if we change it.
Is it July 1 before it goes on?
June, I thought it was June. Roy, do you know if we make changes to this, is it June? It would become effective, but if we made it, yeah, it would be on the 25, but if we made a change to this ordinance right now, would it affect the October?
But when does that have to go on so it matches the trim statement? No, but when is the deadline to communicate that information to put on the trim statement? Do we know when that is? Is that July 1 to get onto the trim statement?
Roy, when is that? Do you know?
Michelle, do you know?
Is it July 1st? July the 1st. July the 1st, sorry.
All right, so.
Yep, sorry.
Right.
I didn't know it was June or
Yeah.
July. Couldn't.
So to put on the 25, we have to have the information
to trim
by July 1.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Back to the, I hear a lot of concern about the sizing of the property. I think there is, you and I shared, there is a lot of ignorance about that from the standpoint of people don't equate the size of their house to the size of the impervious surface on their lot.
Yes.
I didn't either, so I had to go back and figure that information out for myself. So tell me the scale.
Sure.
It's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah.
Because in 2005, we raised the rate 16%. In 2006, we raised them 10%, and 2007 raised them 10%. We had a
Yes.
31% increase over 3 years when the interest rate, the cost of living was going up at about 0.1%.
Yes.
So.
That's correct.
Which is probably why we had such a large cushion for such a long time.
Yes, that's correct. Just a little bit about the impervious area. A lot of residents would look at what is on the tax assessor's site, and it might say gross square footage of your house at, let's say, 2,000 square feet, and then they get their notice for 2,300 or 2,500, and they say, well, why? And this is a common question, and we tried to address it to the best of our abilities. We have GIS data that we can accurately pinpoint what your impervious area is on site, so that's what we were utilizing for this, but we have made it very clear if somebody thinks that there is an error on there, we're more than happy to email us, and we would send them the information that we have, and if they, still don't agree with that, we would be happy to meet with them and talk with them about that. But for the most part, I think that's what's caused a little bit of the confusion here is like, hey, I've got a 1,900 square foot house, but I'm being charged 2,400. And then we say, well, that's your impervious area, which may be, it may be a patio, it may be an extension, it may be a driveway, it may be a concrete sidewalk or whatever the case is. So that's part of where that is coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, but we've set a limit at 2,500.
We have, because currently, right now, there is already a cap, and most all municipalities have a cap on their stormwater utility fee, and that cap it varies throughout wherever the community is, but ours was, when we measured by what's called the equivalent residential unit, which was the old way that we measured, it basically equated all properties to a certain, square footage area. So I think it was around 2,000 square foot is what we had as our traditional equivalent residential unit, right? So our residential unit was capped at like 1.25 ERUs, which put a dollar amount hard pan basically on the upper end of what anybody could be charged. So since its inception, there's always been a cap, right, on whatever that square footage of 1.25 ERUs is. So we wanted to keep that as we moved forward. So that's exactly what we did, which is where the 2,500 square foot area came in.
So is it possible to readjust those in such a way that there's a broader distribution of that? The idea is that somebody who's got a 5,000 square foot house is paying the same as somebody who's got 2,500. The odds are that the income for each of those two households is probably significantly different.
Sure.
Now, I can't argue 2,000 and 2,500 quite so much,
Sure.
but you could argue 1,000 to 2,500 is a pretty good gap. Is it possible to figure out how?
Yeah, absolutely, and we've done that. I mean, it goes all the way down to 1,000. 1,000 square foot is charged much less than a 2,000 square foot house. I think 1,000 square feet goes all the way down to, I believe, $80.
I was looking on the
for
ordinance, and
proposed.
I can't find that detail on the actual ordinance. I just see
Okay.
the rates. So I was
Yeah.
looking for that information.
The 1,000 square feet is the low point of what we had, and then the cap is 2,500. So it's basically between that 1,000 and 2,500. Yeah, the minimum. The minimum is 1,000.
1,000, so it is feasible that we could do 1,000,
Yeah, I think
1,500, 2,000.
I think the study, and that's what the study that we're trying to accelerate is going to tell us exactly that, because we need our consultant to tell us, hey, this is where it's at, this is how it looks. And this is
Corey, I
where we're
think
at.
one of the things I heard, okay, everybody can swallow the first year.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure that
Sure.
we're equitable in years 2, 3, and 4. So I would encourage you to make sure we do complete the
Absolutely.
study on caps and discounts.
Yeah.
So that at this time next year, we can be back to discuss that.
Absolutely, and we're gonna try to accelerate that. It's gonna take about 6 months to do the study, so that's what we're looking at right now, but we're hoping to get that out quickly.
Is there any option to have a change for us to discuss a change of rate now? Is there an option that there's other formulas that may be available that, I mean, I heard about a third of the comments are, it's disproportionate. Older, smaller houses, usually fixed income,
Yeah.
are paying a disproportionately high amount compared to 3,500 square foot.
The new study is going to tell us that. When we look at this is exactly what we want to get into about the caps and the discounts. Like, there's discounts already currently that we want to look at, right? And we want to get our hands around and our head wrapped around where those came from. Because some of them we know where they came from, some of them we're not really sure where they came from. But in that, we're going to look at all sorts of is there any other discounts that we're not, that we're not thinking about, and that was going to be brought up during that study.
Well, let me ask again, and more pointed, can
Sure.
we change these rates right now as a fee, or can we modify this, or should we?
We can't change the rates without going back to a study, I don't believe.
This is right, okay, so, please. Mayor, does it make sense, and I guess, and I'm not quite sure it does, but does it make sense, unless we can get something that comes back in a different way, to delay this till to postpone this decision until the first week in June? So we could see another formula for rates.
We don't have another formula for rates.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, the formula for what we have is switching, we went to the square footage unit right now going away from the ERU, we went to square foot. So that is kind of and that's what most municipalities are switching to. Before, it was harder to get that data before. Now it's easier to get that data because of GIS, and most cities have a GIS, a rigorous GIS program that they can use in there. So this is supposed to help us get more accurate calculations about what, the impervious area is on specific properties themselves. And so that's just analyzed over over our expenses, over our CIP, and that in itself is the formula that drills down to what our rate is based over that 5-year CIP period that we looked at. So that's what the formula is derived from. I hope that makes sense.
I'm trying to come up with a compromise, but what I'm hearing you saying is this is it or it's not.
Yeah. I mean, we can come back, we can look at it next year.
Commissioner.
This is the thing.
We're going to
It's-
take a
yeah.
look at the caps and discounts over the course of time.
Yeah.
We don't have time to do that if we want to have this increase.
Yes.
And if we want to continue to go deeper into debt with the stormwater system.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Sheehan?
Yeah, this is the problem. You have to have a required notice based on the tables that he provided. We have to, and then we have to have the public comment and 2 public hearings for the trim notice, all right? We've already put this off because there was concern. We had an additional public hearing, which we heard this input on,
Yeah.
okay? The problem is now we're up against the trim notice deadline.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing most people saying is it's not the first year that's the big problem, it's cumulative. If we can just go ahead and vote on this one, looking at possibly removing the cap by next year, and if that would alleviate some of the pressure moving forward, but we can't do it because we can't keep going in debt, folks. We cannot, it's not responsible. Leadership is not about kicking the can down the road. That's how it got us to this mess. All right? We got to make a decision today. If you don't like the decision, vote against it, but realize that you're voting for debt. And we can't continue to do this debt. So I think that we need to go ahead with this one, but I agree. I'm the first one that said we need to readjust this cap, all right? We need to look at it for next year, but we don't have any time before we up against this notification. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor Dyer?
Commissioner Burns and Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes, again, I apologize for having to step out. I have a flight to catch. But I just wanted to kind of reinforce what Commissioner Sheehan just mentioned. I think we do need to move forward in the first year and revisit the caps as well as the discounts. Because, you know, as I mentioned before, this is very inconvenient. But I think we have to move forward with what's prudent versus what's popular. I think a popular vote would be to vote against it, but I think the prudent thing for the council to do is to move forward, at least with this first year, and do the proper assessments and studies so we can come back with something that feels to be more equitable and makes more sense. So that would be my input, and I am in favor of the increase for this first year. Thank you.
Thank you. Last shot, Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you. I don't mean to be argumentative, but leadership is not about making a decision like this all of a sudden. We can also make loans, so we can go ahead and cap this while we're doing the study. We do have to need to change the caps, and in the meantime, and we have to do another study. That's a fact, because there's other ways of changing this. But there's other ways of also dealing with this. I mean, we can, well, we discussed issuing bonds. Bonds is not going to be something that is, because we need to have something to back them up with. But a loan can be made. Yes, it will increase the deficit for a period of time until we can make a decision to go ahead and come back and pay it. But it's a risk we have to take, and then accounting with the community, and of course, getting the support of the community. But there's other ways of solving this, so let's just be careful how we pronounce those, the things we say out there.
Mayor, can I say one more thing?
One last thing.
Just to kind of say this, because I've heard a couple people bring up grants and funds and stuff like that. There are matches with these. We've turned down a couple matches, or turned down a couple projects because we could not fund the match for these projects. So that's the kind of situation that we're in right now. So just, I hear what people say, and we do go after these grants, and some of them were successful, but some of them have a larger match through them, so we were not able to go after some of those. So just to.
Yeah, and understand this is basically a standalone entity.
Yes.
Like it was separate from all the other parts of
Yes.
the city, and it has
That's
to
correct.
pay for itself. It's
Yes.
not supposed to be funded by general revenue. It's supposed to be paid for by fee for services. And if the fees
sir.
don't pay for it, then we have to raise the
It
fees.
suffers. Yes, it's an enterprise fund. Yes.
Okay, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, I got it, 5-1. Thank you for your input. Motion carries. Okay, we have other business to do, so if you want to do that, take it out to the hallway. Okay, Madam Clerk, if you would read 2417.
Ordinance number 2024-17, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to maximum floor area ratio and historic preservation overlay districts, amending Chapter 58, Part 1B of the Land Development Code entitled Zoning Tables, providing for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Gray. Madam Clerk, I don't have any requests for public testimony.
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3.
Ordinance number 2024-18, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, regarding drive-through facilities, replacing all references to drive-in facilities with drive-through facilities, and updating the use regulations for such facilities, providing legislative findings, and for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. I have no cards for public participation. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. And number 4.
Ordinance number 2024-19, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for certain land generally located south of Turnbill Drive, west of Commander Drive, north of Hoffner Avenue, and east of South Summeron Boulevard, comprised of 10.45 acres of land, more or less, from industrial to community activity center, amending the boundary of sub-area policy S.23.2 to include the subject property and changing the property zoning designation from industrial park with the aircraft noise and Summeron Gateway special plan overlay districts to community activity center with the aircraft noise and Summeron Gateway special plan overlay districts, providing for amendment of the city's growth management plan and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. I have no cards for public participation. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. Okay, ordinances on first reading.
Ordinance number 2024-3, ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, annexing to the corporate limits of the city certain land generally located south of Monarch Drive, west of Conway Road, and north of McCoy Road, and comprised of 19.03 acres of land, more or less, and amending the city's boundary description, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to designate the property as residential low intensity in part, mixed-use corridor medium intensity in part, and conservation in part on the city's official future land use maps, designating the property as one-family residential with the aircraft noise overlay district in part, medium intensity mixed-use corridor with the aircraft noise overlay district, and Conway Road special plan overlay district in part, and conservation with the aircraft noise overlay district and Conway Road special plan overlay district in part, on the city's official zoning maps, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. I have no request for public participation. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. Yep. Madam Clerk, we need to go back. Commissioner Ortiz voted against the motion to have the move the. Well, you actually voted on the second motion, which was to move it away from a 5 o'clock to a 2 o'clock. So he'd like to be shown as a yes on that.
Number 11. Number 11.
Okay, Ed, could you get us ready for general appearance?